What's going on, fishy friends? Rich here, Rich's Fishes, and 2017 ain't over, so it's still trying to kick my butt. Alright, so I've already gone through my recent tales of woe, and the tales keep continuing. So we're still a couple of days before Christmas here. Let's see, this video won't air until carry the one. Probably the Sunday before Christmas, Christmas Eve, maybe Christmas Day, maybe Saturday. I don't know. It's gonna air soon, in the next 2 or 3 days, and Christmas is about 4 days away, 3 days away. What's today? Thursday? Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday. That's traditionally the day after Thursday, right? Yeah. Friday night I'm going out to dinner for my office Christmas party, which is usually a hell of a time. I get to go to a nice steakhouse and enjoy the company of some old friends, new friends, current employees, old employees, and things like that, and it's usually a hell of a time. So that'll be Friday night, and then Saturday is probably going to be running around like crazy preparing for Christmas. Sunday will be Christmas Eve. We're going to do dinner, just my wife and I and the kids here at our house. Then Christmas Day, and we're going to do Christmas dinner at our house as well with most of the family here. We're doing it a little bit differently than we have in years past, but you don't know how I've done it in years past, so we're doing it just the same, I suppose, right? No difference to you guys. Slightly different, doesn't matter. Anyway, what's the point of my story? Do I have a point? I do have a point of my story. My tales of woe continue in the end of 2017, before 2018, and this holiday season is kicking my butt. Besides all the medical issues I had, having to go to the ER, having to go to urgent care, having to get stitches, having to get pink eye, my daughter getting sick, the bill's starting to roll in, that's womp womp. My refrigerator crapped out the other day. Yeah, yesterday, as a matter of fact. 2 days ago. I didn't notice it until yesterday. So, if anybody remembers the reasoning for the beginnings of my kitchen remodel, almost a year ago now, I was just looking at pictures. I'm at like 11 months and change, and I was really hoping to say I can complete this in less than a year, but oh well. So the whole reasoning for my kitchen remodel was because I knew the refrigerator was starting to crap out last year. It's a modern refrigerator, obviously, and I was having an issue where the freezer was freezing up to the point where the drains in the back. All right, a refrigerator has some heating elements, and it actually goes through a defrost cycle on its own, and it's supposed to defrost some of the ice in the freezer, and that's supposed to drip down vents, tubes, I don't know what the term is, but they're purposefully there, and they allow that water that was frozen. Once the heater heats it up, it melts. It melts back into water. It drips down into a drip tray beneath your refrigerator and usually evaporates, and you're none the wiser. All of a sudden, I started getting puddles under the fridge, and all of a sudden, the inside of the refrigerator was all wet. So I found out that those heating elements weren't working properly, which means the freezer was freezing over, and the vents, the drains that was supposed to allow that water to escape easily were completely clogged. So now instead of the water going down the drain and collecting into that drip pan, what happened was the water was dripping down into the refrigerator and just collecting on the shelves in the refrigerator and making a big nasty mess. So every couple of months I would manually defrost the freezer. I would take everything out, manually defrost the freezer, wipe everything up, clean it all up, dry it up. You know, this is a good 2 or 3 hour process, and I was getting to the point where I was having to do this every 4 to 5 weeks. So I knew I had to get a new refrigerator, and part of the beginning of my kitchen renovation was realizing that they built my kitchen cabinets and a soffit purposefully down to the height of the refrigerator, and I had a relatively small refrigerator that I think was a little bit shorter than most of the ones that I went to look at in the stores. So what I did was I removed the cabinet, I demoed that soffit above it, and then I started putting new sheetrock up on that wall behind the refrigerator. I never did have a water dispenser and an ice maker in that refrigerator, so I went through the trouble of getting the plumbing ready and in the wall, made that look all nice and neat, and then the kitchen project just continued on from there, and I ended up demoing the rest of the room. Since that time, let's back up even further than that. A year before I started that kitchen renovation, I did a smaller kitchen project because I needed a dishwasher. My dishwasher crapped out, and when I went to try to remove it, I realized that they had installed the tile floor after they installed the dishwasher. So removing the dishwasher would have required me to either demo the entire kitchen floor, which was a big job that I was not looking forward to do and I didn't want to do. Let's see, I need a drink. And I had a not so nice laminate kitchen countertop and a ridiculous sink. It was a double sink mounted in a corner. So instead of two full-size sinks, it was these two little bar sinks, kind of. It was such a I don't know who designed it. It's still manufactured and made today by a company called LK, who's a reputable brand. I've seen their sinks and things like that before. It's called the LK Celebrity Series. Sounds fancy, right? What a piece of crap this thing was. It was unusable. You couldn't even fit a frying pan in it. You couldn't fit dishes in it well. And the way it was designed, it just inherently made a mess, always. If you went to go swing the faucet, you went over countertop instead of sink. So that made no sense. So what I ended up doing then was tearing out the whole countertop, replacing it with a nicer, still a laminate countertop, but a much nicer countertop that people, when they look at it, they think it's marble or granite or something like that. So that's always nice. I replaced it with a much nicer white porcelain cast iron sink. Not exactly a farm sink, but kind of that farm sink look. It doesn't have that big apron front, but it's a big sink. It's a small bathtub rather than a big sink. So I did all that. I replaced the countertop. I replaced the sink. I got the new dishwasher in last year. Two years ago now. So then last year I started having the trouble with the refrigerator. So I started that whole kitchen project, which turned into, a full gut job and a full kitchen. In the interim, I have a buddy that works for a store local to me called PC Richards. I think they're only known in the Northeast. Maybe they've expanded a little more since then. But a buddy of mine works for them. He does deliveries and installs. And my stove, oven, range, whatever you might call it, wherever you live, was old and ugly. And so now in my kitchen I got a nice new stainless steel dishwasher, that nice new countertop. I repainted all the cabinets and made those look a lot nicer. And then there's my ugly fridge that I knew was broken and going to have to be replaced. And there's my ugly off-white kind of yellowish looking stove that I also knew was going to have to be replaced. And when I went to the store and priced them out, I was shocked to find out how much new refrigerators cost, and pleasantly surprised at how, quote unquote cheap the stoves and ovens were. The refrigerators were roughly starting at $1,000, and for something of a decent size and something that looked nice, not even necessarily the top of the line fancy thing, it was close to $2,000, if not even more. Stove, on the other hand, you can get one of the nicest ones they have for $800 and $900. So my buddy who works for PC Richards knew I was looking for something, and he called me up one day and he said, look, I'm at this house about to install a stove, and what the lady has is essentially a brand new stove. She said she had store credit and she doesn't need the stove, but she decided that she's going to use her store credit and just get a new stove anyway. So he brought me her old stove for free. He used his truck. He got it. I went and helped him, but we got the thing loaded up. Actually, we loaded it into my truck, but and I got that. That ended up being free of charge, minus the labor. I fed my buddy for helping me do the install and bringing it in, and his expertise and his know-how. We got that done, no problem. A refrigerator he wasn't able to get a hold of for me as easily, I think for the most part, because most of the time the refrigerators that he's going to replace for people are old and broken and in worse shape than mine was currently. But as it came to it, I've been putting this off because I didn't want to spend the money, and I've been dealing with my soaking wet, disgusting fridge that's just kind of gross, but at least it was still staying cold for this whole time. That is up until 2 days ago. Now, of course, we've already done the majority of the shopping for Christmas dinner. The fridge was loaded up with more food than it has been in ages, probably since we own the house. And I went to go make breakfast and lunch for my girls and myself yesterday morning and realized, oh crap, everything in here is barely lukewarm. What the hell is going on? And it only got worse as the day went on. And I was destined to the fact that I was going to have to go run out and buy a fridge immediately in the 3 days before Christmas and actually get it delivered and not ruin all this food. Luckily, I didn't have to go out and buy one. My wife's cousin happened to have an extra fridge sitting around that her boyfriend, well, I'm sorry, fiance now, congratulations guys. My wife's cousin's fiance picked up a fridge from where he works many moons ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago or something like that, before he purchased his house. The place where he works was getting new fridges and getting rid of roughly a 1-year-old fridge that had basically never been used. And he figured that when he bought a house, he would get a house that had old crappy appliances that would need to be replaced with this much nicer fridge. But the house he bought had brand new appliances, so he never used this thing. He tucked it away in storage, and that was that. So my wife's cousin, here's our story of woe about how the refrigerator died on us a couple of days before Christmas. And she says, hey, why don't you come take the old fridge out of our storage area, out of our shed that we never used, and go use it. Her fiance has spent a couple $100 getting a U-Haul truck to bring that thing home whenever he did it. So he said, look, give me the $200 that I spent on the U-Haul truck. Take the fridge and it's yours. So last night I run around like crazy. I go to Home Depot for $20. I rent the truck for 75 minutes. I go and pick up the fridge. I get back here. I drop the fridge off. I go drop the truck back off. Made it with 9 minutes to spare out of my 75-minute window time frame, so that way I wouldn't have to pay more than $19.99 for the truck. It's a hell of a deal. Same buddy who helped me install the stove ran around and helped me again. Thank you, Bob. And got the fridge done last night. Everything's nice and cold, except this morning, the display panel on the fridge, there's a couple of little LED windows that tell you the temperature inside of the fridge and how you set it and things like that. That thing's burned out. So now I don't know if it's worth spending any money trying to fix this thing. I'm also missing 2 of the larger shelves out of the fridge, but it's an awesome fridge, and it's actually cold, and it's clean, and it stays dry, and I don't have to mop stuff up out of it. So for now, it's a hell of a deal. So thank you to everyone involved. And thank you to everyone else for listening to my ridiculous ramblings of woe. And now I'm going to go ahead and feed some fish. No, you know what? I'm going to pause this and I'll probably start some water changes sooner or later. All right, anyway, I'm going to sign off for now, guys. Keep watching this, and I will talk to you guys later.